Hey guys, Joe here at the ECRM CBD Hemp Health and Beauty Session in Chicago, and I'm here with Becky Shipp from GiantMartins. So Becky, thank you for joining us.
You're welcome.
So here at this session, this is our first one where buyers and sellers are actually having meetings. We had our CBD symposium last year, which was more educational. And what I found that was interesting, I've done some observations with retailers of all sizes, and there's a big difference between the relationships with CBD companies and the mass retailers as opposed to CBD companies and the smaller independents and the dispensaries, as well as the natural food stores. So that's what I wanted to talk about here is a larger retailer, what are the concerns, the issues, or challenges in working or getting into the CBD industry. So, but before we get into that, could you talk a little bit about GiantMartins, who your customer is, how many stores you have?
Sure. GiantMartins, we're located in Harrisburg, Pennsylvania. We have just under 200 stores. I manage the health and personal care desk, and our customers, we know, are looking for products that will make them healthier and also help with pain and things that CBD will hit. So I came to this show looking for those products and looking for suppliers that can partner with us in this new industry that everybody's trying to figure out.
And I think that's, you nailed it right on the head. Everyone's trying to figure it out. This is something that, especially for mass retailers and the fuzziness with the regulations, and with the Farm Bill opening kind of things up a little bit, it's more of a kind of wait and see. I've heard the term fast follower when it comes to the larger chains. And so they have a lot of concerns. What were some, you've went through a day of meetings. What were some of the things that you touched on with these companies that are relevant to larger retailers that they may not be facing in dealing with the independent chains?
Yeah, I mean, the biggest topic was how to get product to the stores. They're not familiar with the distributors that, a company as large as us use. They aren't really familiar on how to make a sales call. And, it's really hard to, see the transparency with them to understand, what grocery stores legally can put on the shelf and what they can't put on the shelf. There is a lot of gray areas until the, FDA gets involved and we really understand what we can and can't do. There are a lot of smaller companies and there's a lot of them. So it's kind of like weeding through all of the companies and understanding who the true partners are. It needs to be a strategic plan. We need to SKU rationalize and brand rationalize and make sure that we're not just putting everything on the shelf. We need to be strategic with it and make sure it's what our customers are looking for.
And during one of the meetings that I happened to sit in on, you discussed the fact that you're looking for a partner who could also provide some guidance in the regulations and navigating that.
Help me through the legal piece. Also the education to the customer. The FDA is going to get a hold of it. There's going to be a lot of, rules on what can be on the package. So because of that, we're really going to have to use education at the shelf and education through digital means and through the pharmacy and things like that. Okay, and
what about breadth of products? I mean, what are you looking at now? Forget about, put aside the FDA, upcoming FDA opinion. What products are you interested in the hemp and CBD realm?
Well, from what I thought at the beginning of the day to the end of the day, really changed. Beginning of the day, I was really thinking more vitamins category, more, looking at different ways to have the vitamins, the pills and the drops and things like that. As the day progressed, I saw nutrition. I saw a lot of topical things. It was just all different other categories that I hadn't really thought about, even bath bombs.
And they're getting into new categories.
They're getting into a lot of new categories. They pretty much covered everything. So now I'm looking at the category more as a destination and, made me think a lot differently. So there's just a lot to think about.
So would you envision a CBD section?
I think that's what's going to be the future.
With all of these different categories. So you might have the topicals, the drops, the pills, sprays, and water all in one section.
Yeah, you even said water. Who knew there was even water?
Yeah.
So, So yeah, I think that's what it's going to end up being. I mean, again, it's all just new and coming, and everybody's trying to figure out what everybody's going to do and what we can do. You know, there's shippers that you can kind of, you know, lightly tread the water.
Kind of test the water out.
Yeah, and you know, that might be an option. So yeah, I mean, I think there's just a lot to go back and a lot of follow up, and that's what I plan to do.
And that was one recommendation from A.T. Kearney was for larger retailers is, like you just mentioned, if you are a little nervous about getting into it in a big way, or, you know, maybe setting aside a shelf, start little, you know, maybe at an impulse area, or throw in a shipper, or maybe a power wing, or something that's temporary that you can test the waters out, but you're not making too much of a commitment.
Correct, and you also have to be careful with price point. I think consumers are much more, you know, eager to spend a price point maybe in a specialty store. In a grocery store, you have to be really careful with price point. You know, they're already spending money in a grocery store, and to add another, you know, higher price point on can sometimes be a challenge. So we have to make sure we're hitting the right price points.
Okay, so as a larger retailer, for the suppliers out there, what would be, let's say, a checklist? What are some of the things that they need to have in place, or to at least have answers to, in order to get your confidence to do business?
Well, I always say vendors are to make our jobs a little easier, and I feel that they need to come with a plan and don't come in just to sell their products and say, here's my products, I want you to buy them, but don't help me figure out how to get them on the shelf. They need to make sure they can get through the distribution centers that I use. They need to come with a strategic plan and, you know, have somebody to call on us and be able to get through all the paperwork and everything. And then a strategy, and like I said, a very specific SKU count, you know, and a promotional plan to educate the customers. That's really what it comes down to. Those are that's the checklist.
And the paperwork, because this came up in one meeting, the paperwork is probably, the load of paperwork that's involved is probably something they're not used to if they're dealing direct with a natural food store.
They're not used to it, and it's very, very important because we don't want to train our vendors to do paperwork.
Yes, exactly. And then if you're dealing with a section that you mentioned where you have all these different categories, will they be dealing with different category managers as well for that set?
Yes, most likely,
so they're going to have to get used to that too. They're not just dealing, you're not going to be dealing with one store owner and then that's it.
Correct.
You're going to be dealing with several category managers.
Correct.
Okay. Yes. So any other parting advice for the suppliers based on your meetings today?
I think it's exciting. I think that there's a need out there for customers, and, you know, personally, I think it's great product. I think that consumers, you know, are just waiting. I think they're eager. Yeah. So it's time. We just have to figure it out together.
Okay, great.
So I'm looking for partners.
All right. Well, there you have it.
Thank you.
Thank you for joining us.